Coming in hot, baby. It's Tech Hype Week, Paul. That's what I'm calling it.
Tech Hype Week, yeah.
Because there's a whole
Yeah,
bunch of cool
the
stuff.
year where we promote science while pretending that other science doesn't exist. That's what I'm going to call it.
Tech Hype
Let's,
Week, folks.
in the height of the pandemic, let's gather a diminished capacity for sure compared to previous years. We'll call it 50,000-ish people in a room. Let's see what happens.
I don't even know if they're. Did you see some of the pictures that have come out of CES? It's
sparse.
It's like a Kmart.
It's sparse and it isn't, right? Like I saw a video of like them opening the doors and it's like all these people standing together like jerk offs. Like I have to get in now. You know, the stuff's not going anywhere. I don't know. You posted that photo from I think our last journey to Vegas for CS. I think
maybe, but yeah, it was around that.
It might have been one more. I don't remember, and I got to tell you, I remember that moment distinctly. I just started doing.
Can you rephrase it for the people at home so they can remember the joyous experience that we went on with that?
Well, yeah. So it would have been 2017.
Yep.
Right. I had just started doing the keto diet, and so I was not eating bread of any kind. And I wanted to. No, we were heading to the convention center in a cab. It was just car to car traffic, like a bumper to bumper. So we're on that road that parallels the convention center. There's a McDonald's, and I asked the guy if we could go through the McDonald's.
And are we in an Uber or a cab?
We were just sitting in the cab. We were going to sit in there anyway. Who cares?
Yeah.
So I got a couple of breakfast sandwiches, and I ate them without the bread.
Yep.
Now I spent the next year often getting those breakfast sandwiches and asking for them without the bread. And you would think, like, in a place like the Lehigh Valley, which is sparsely populated compared to like a big city, this request was met with no problems. Like, no, and one time I had gone into New York City for a meeting, and I came home and it was one of those, there was a weird time period where it was hard to get there because like the bus services weren't reliable. And I had to do like this thing where I took a ferry across to New Jersey and took the bus from there or whatever. So I went into the McDonald's. It was in New Jersey technically, but you could see New York City across the river. And I asked for whatever breakfast sandwich with no bread. And the woman goes, "Are you effing kidding me?" I was like, come on. This is such a cosmopolitan place. You must get all kinds of requests here. But she had never.
You just didn't care.
No.
I can tell you somebody who does care, Paul. It's Google and Sonos.
Yeah. Good week for Google. Oh, wait. Well, it's been kind of an up and down week. I mean,
yeah,
good adoption of their Google TV stuff. They had some nice Android interaction announcements, not just with their own platforms, but with Windows, which I thought was interesting.
So I have a question. I have a theory.
Yeah, I know what you're going to ask.
Do you think that this was in response to some of what Microsoft is doing, where they're trying to bring quite literally Google's app stores, even though they're not Google's, to Windows?
I think it's an acknowledge. No, I don't. But it is interesting that it happens at the same time. So you've got Microsoft working without Google to bring Android to Windows. You've got Google working without Microsoft to bring first games through the Play Store, and we have no idea how that's going to work. But they're both talking about Android apps on Windows, which is really weird, right? Google made a point of saying we are not working with Microsoft.
Yep.
Then this past week they announced what I'll call like productivity enhancements, fast pair kind of stuff, and basically trying to do what they're doing on Chromebook a little bit to Windows, right? So these two devices kind of interact in meaningful ways. You can send text messages, et cetera, et cetera. No, I think what they're really doing is belatedly answering the Apple integration advantage, right? If you have Apple devices, they work together. If you have an iPhone and a Mac, you can do text messages and stuff on your computer, which is huge. It's like a really nice feature. You can easily move files between them using AirDrop or whatever. And I think I don't remember what they called it, but they have an AirDrop type feature they're bringing to Windows. So, no, to me, the most messed up thing about this is that this stuff is all happening at the same time, and these two companies are not working together. They have the exact same goal. Like, how much better would this be if Microsoft and Google partnered to bring the Google Play Store to Windows, to optimize Google Play games to run on Windows, to optimize both platforms to share data back and forth without that terrible Your Phone app? No. Shared customers benefits everyone. Microsoft is making Android devices. Hello? Nothing? No? Okay, sorry.
Eh,
I
it's
seemed like a natural to me.
it's funny. I guarantee it comes down to they have a shared vision, but the end goal is totally different for both. Their ultimate motive for doing this is not
They're
aligned.
so, you know, they're a deep set kind of I don't it's weird. You don't normally associate like feelings or emotions with companies,
Hmm.
but in the same way that the open source world today, there's still a big segment of it that just does not trust Microsoft because of stuff that happened 20 years ago.
Hmm.
There is a corporate mindset at Google where they just don't trust Microsoft. And it literally came out of watching what Microsoft did to their competitors as they were coming up in the world 20 years ago. Like it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It just it doesn't it just doesn't make sense. Both companies would benefit from this partnership. Both companies' customers, which are largely shared, would benefit from this
Hmm.
partnership. There is no there's no logical argument to make to the contrary. They common enemy, et cetera, et cetera. A friend of my, an enemy of my enemy is a friend, the kind of
Hmm.
thing, or whatever it is. I mean, you two together could stand up against Apple. Concerted effort, shared ecosystem. No, nothing. I don't know. I feel like it's like explaining you need air to breathe. Like, why do I even have to talk about it? It's weird. So anyway, that's my. I feel bad about this. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I mean, I guess I do know why Apple would say no to this, but I also
Yeah.
sort of believe Apple should partner with Microsoft to make interaction on Windows better. To help it bring
I agree.
AirDrop to Windows or whatever. I
Well,
mean,
Microsoft laid out the first volley, if you will, with their latest Windows Insider build that improves the audio support for their AirPods.
that's right. It's very broad. Yeah, that's true. And they also reached out to Apple during the negotiations over the Game Pass stuff to. Well, no, they did. I
They
mean,
did.
they made.
They made an effort.
You can tell by how far someone bends how badly they want something, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And Microsoft, I think, sort of forfeited some of the things that make sense for Game Pass to make it happen, right? To benefit its gamers who are shared customers with Apple because they're using Apple devices. Like and Apple's just Apple. I mean, it's weird, but
Well, the rumor is, Paul, that
mhm.
Tim Cook will only accept meeting invites from companies with $3 trillion market caps. So,
Well, good news for Microsoft. They're expected to be the next company with a $3 trillion market
yep,
cap.
they just
So
got to get there. They got to prove their worth. Right now, it's Apple alone. Apple will probably be $4 trillion by then.
yeah,
They got to sell a few more dongles,
a few more cleaning cloths or
cleaning
some
glass. That's
sets of
how they're going to
wheels
do
for
it.
Mac Pros.
One microfiber cloth at a time. The one other interesting thing, there's a bunch of weird stuff that's come out of CES. Not weird, but like the AMD stuff's great, but nobody can touch it and nobody can benchmark it. Intel stuff's great, but nobody can touch it. Nobody can really benchmark it in a
Yes.
meaningful.
So, by the way, speaking of that,
Hmm.
HP offered me a bizarre. Made a kind of bizarre, is a strong word, a strange offer. They said, "Hey, we just announced this new Dragonfly thing.
Yep.
I've reviewed all of the previous Dragonflies. Love this laptop. Do you want to take an early look? They're like it's kind of an engineering sample.
Hmm.
You just want to get you can. They literally said for review, I could talk about it, and I said sure. And it has an Intel Alder Lake something something. I have no idea. It's a 10 core processor of some kind. It identifies itself as Intel Core 000.
Hmm.
I can't use the Intel processor identity utility to figure out what it is. I can't see it in the BIOS. I can see that it has support for LPDDR5 RAM, which is brand new and really fast.
Yep.
Um, so I kind of wrote about that, and then they were like, "Yeah, we really don't want you to benchmark this or whatever." And I don't benchmark anything. I'm just doing a normal
Hmm.
investigative look at what it is. I'm trying to figure out what it is. But if you look at their announcement about this device, they don't. All they say is Intel 12th generation core processors. Like they
Hmm.
won't say what it is, but it came with a 110-watt power supply,
Whoa.
which is almost double the normal,
Yeah. That's a
power
beefy
or
boy.
whatever. Yeah, it's big. It's like twice as big as the normal one. So I'm thinking this, and 10 core, 110 watt. I mean, this is a serious computer of some kind,
Hmm.
right? It's beautiful. I mean, the machine is gorgeous, but I, it's early. Like they're like literally like we're not talking about this yet.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. This must be something coming from the chipset makers. They're very sensitive. Intel
Well,
doesn't want to come up with a new gen of processors and have anyone say it's 10% slower than some AMD thing.
Right.
Right.
You're right.
I think this, but these things are going to come out.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
I
But
don't
I'm guessing
understand
they
this
don't
thing.
want it this week. Is the but AMD benchmarks aren't really out either. I mean, other than what they provided, which you got to
Right.
take with a
Well,
massive
same
grain
thing
of
with
salt.
Intel, cherry pick, something in some way our new Core i9 is faster than an M something,
Yeah.
M1 Pro Max or whatever. Okay, great. Um, okay, but what about the rest of it?
Yeah.
Does this thing require a cooler the size of a Volkswagen? I mean, what are we talking about? I don't know. It's interesting. I've never seen that before, and I give HP credit for even offering it to me. And really, I'm mostly excited about the form factor. I mean, they switched. It's kind of weird. They went from X3, like a convertible, to just a laptop, but now it has a 3x2 display, which, fine.
Yeah.
Anything other than 16:9 is great. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful machine. It's vague. Like what the processor bits. The rest of it's very specific, right? You can tell you the kind of RAM, the type of displays you can get, the ports, blah blah blah, whatever. Can't tell you anything about I can tell you very basic things about the processor.
Has an enter key.
It does have an enter key. Yeah, I can confirm that.
Big.
Oh, hold on. I was just sued by HP. I can't confirm the enter key. I'm sorry. That was my mistake.
The other interesting product that was announced, at least to me, so there was the Asus ZenBook Fold, which is just a giant folding tablet. Now, the reason why I find this interesting is I see this thing. I'm like, what version of Windows is it going to run?
Right.
Because
so last year, Lenovo shipped a ThinkPad Fold.
Yeah.
That they had announced around the time of the Windows 10X stuff, and it was originally going to come with 10X, and then they said, well, it's going to be your choice of 10X or 10, and then 10X got canceled, and it arrived with 10. And honestly, the display technology that I didn't have it long term. Maybe I only had it for a couple of months, but I mean, it's beautiful. There's no doubt about it. It's gorgeous. I think we can all agree tablets in the Windows space are, basically just productivity device. Well, I mean, you can do anything on them, but I mean, they're not super popular. This thing is kind of expensive because of what it is. If you picture like a laptop, you turn it sideways and you bend the screen, it has a little teeny keyboard you can put on top of the bottom if you want, or you can use the touch screen. It's not it's small to use it that way. I mean, you could turn it the normal way and it has a kickstand, and then you can use the keyboard as like a standalone, like Bluetooth keyboard. But I don't know. I feel like we spent 20 years trying to contort PCs into these things, and I feel like most of it hasn't been super successful in like unit sales terms, right? Like I don't know. Obviously, you're an artist, a note taker by hand. Those people have to be dwindling, right? Who the hell writes anymore anyway? But whatever. They don't even teach handwriting in school, like cursive handwriting.
I don't know about cursive, but yeah.
Obviously they teach you how to write. I mean, but if all you can do is write block letters, I mean, what is your signature become? Is it just a like a little bit of art you create, every once in a while when you get a license or a passport or you sign your tax documents or something? Like, I normally, like we just did a refinance thing or whatever. I just signed all these documents. And I signed my name. My name, because I used to write my name a lot, is like just a squiggle of a particular shape. And the first one I signed, the woman looked at it and said, "Yeah, you got to write out your name." And I said, "It says signature. That is my signature." And she says, "No, you got to write out your name." And I'm like, "Okay. So you want me to write my name in cursive on every one of these documents?" I have a pretty long name.
Yeah.
It's like, and I didn't get too far into it before my hand was like all kind of crunched up because I type. I don't write. I don't know what we're talking about. Tablets or something? Asus.
Anyways, whatever UI is going to be on these devices to make them more usable, because Windows.
So we don't. 10X is never coming back, right?
No.
They would call it 10X. I mean, we just safely assume 10X is dead.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the stuff that made 10X so special? The UI is obviously in Windows 11. But what about this componentized thing? That's
a great question, Paul Thurrott.
No, I mean to me that was the exciting part of this.
Containerization of stuff and
there must have been some technical hurdle. They can do all this. We can run code that was written in the 1980s basically, and we can't figure out containers to.
I think the problem is that there's nobody around to look at the code from 1980s and understand it anymore. I mean, there's
They got to bring back Bill Gates.
pretty much. I mean, that whole crew needs to come back and be like, hey, can you guys comment out what you did so we can actually.
Yes, bring back the Don Box and Charlie Kindle.
Yep.
Don Nielsen. Get maybe Brad. What's Brad Silverberg doing these days? Get the old team together. It'd be like watching when they have like the old timer game at the the All-Star game in baseball.
Just go get a Scooby-Doo van, just go snatch them up. And then when they pull the head off the monster, it's actually just Bill Gates like, hey, we need to fix this.
Nobody understands how comm works. You're it. So you got to figure this out. No?